justice and peace and equality.
Game Changers Magazine, Game Changers Media Network, Voices of the Village podcast, where change starts with conversation. And we got Jaden Williams, candidate for mayor of Stockbridge, next generation leaders of today. Before we went to break, we were talking about Stockbridge, and I know we talked about Henry County, the way Henry County is growing. The real elephant in the room, the real elephant in the room, the real thing. City of Stockbridge. City of Stockbridge. You running for the City of Stockbridge mayor. Anthony Ford has been the mayor for a very long time. Great guy. So it's a lot behind the whole city. But we just saw a meeting in the City of Stockbridge where a young man came up and brought up a question about the amphitheater. Where money was being spent, money was going here and there to companies that didn't exist, that existed in January, made up, Mayor Ford, I like the guy, he's a nice guy, but I did not like, so I watched the meeting twice. I watched two meetings just before I even get in here, so people don't confuse what I say because I can stand on what I say.
Correct. But
I saw when he was questioned about the amphitheater and where the funds were going, he kind of gave the guy a chance to talk, and you got 2 minutes. Hey, sit down. You know what I'm saying? But when the other guy got up talking about a soccer field and no budget in place. Everybody had all the answers, you know what I mean? Like, we could do this, we can go into this splash fund, we can go into here, we can go into there. Why did one person get treated one way when the board, when it clearly it showed the board wasn't all on one pace? You know, like a few of them were, it seems like those who were in cahoots were, but it still was a couple of council members who were like, okay, nah, I don't know about this, you know? But they had heavy explanation of how they would come up with the money for the soccer field. But when this young man got up and talked about the amphitheater budget and how these expenses was going with taxpayer dollars, tell me, why did we see that and what was that behind that?
I cannot tell you their reasoning.
Okay.
But what I've watched the meetings back to back. I've been sleeping on those meetings.
Okay.
Because I want to understand the same thing you just asked me.
Yeah.
I can tell you for a fact, the amphitheater has been a huge conversation.
Okay.
Since they started construction on the conversation.
Okay.
While it's been a good boost for our Henry County to say, oh yeah, we have an amphitheater in Henry County, we didn't look at every single aspect. I feel, as a community person, as a resident of Stockbridge, I feel like we did not put in our full effort to look and analyze every single part of the amphitheater. To me, I understand the purpose of the soccer field. You know, FIFA's coming to Atlanta. That's good because this brings more attraction to the city. They may give an economic boost to some of our small businesses, and that's important because the small businesses are the heartbeats of Stockbridge.
Yes, they are.
And so for us, if you bring in a FIFA practice field, those boys don't want to go eat.
Okay.
They want to go get a drink. They want to go run to a gas station, to a corner store, and that's going to boost those small businesses we have. However, we're still not looking at the big thing.
Wow.
I mean, let's just say, if we're being honest, Atlanta.
Yeah.
Olympics came in 1996. They donated multiple things to all the institutions.
Okay.
Morris Brown.
Okay.
They lost their accreditation. I'm glad they're back.
Okay.
However, when they lost it, it was a field sitting there, a huge field.
Right.
Just sitting, and it's still sitting. And well, it's now owned by Clark Atlanta. But the simple fact that was donated.
Okay.
And now it's sitting. Now, if we do this for FIFA World Cup, what are we going to do as a city to keep it going beyond the FIFA World Cup?
Beyond the FIFA, yeah.
And let's be honest, I'm for the soccer field only because the 3 sports that the next generation thoroughly encourage right now.
Okay.
And let me not say the next generation, our community loves the most.
Okay.
Football, soccer, and pickleball.
Yes.
I don't know where pickleball came from.
Yeah.
But it is a hot topic.
It's a hot topic.
And Henry County is loving these 3 sports.
Okay.
We just have to give it to them.
Okay.
That's a good opportunity for the city to start a soccer team. It gives more opportunities for recreational stuff, so we can start going to, so we can expand. Let's say we want to do the Stockbridge Methodist soccer team, their championship over at the big field. That gives them an opportunity to see stages they haven't seen before.
Okay.
So it's broadening our next generation's dreams. But again, what are we putting back into it?
Right.
And so I was glad that I forgot his name. Mr. Thomas brought up those conversations about the amphitheater, because how are we functioning as a city?
Correct.
In a city that our endowment should be way bigger than what we claim to have. But let's be real. We've been talking about an amphitheater. A few years ago, we're building it and we're paying it off.
Okay.
Then we hear a few years after that, it's paid off.
Yeah.
Now we back. We're still paying it off. Now it's 2025 and it'll be paid off by the end of the year.
Okay.
We're getting multiple conversations and multiple signals from every person involved in the city, but the one person we need to.
Yeah.
And that's the spokesperson of the city. That's our mayor.
Wow.
And again, he's a great person.
Right.
But when it comes down to the duties and responsibilities, he's a little iffy on some of those parts.
Okay.
Because there should not be a councilman speaking on behalf of something that should belong and only come from the mayor. The mayor should have had it during that meeting that you watched. Okay. The mayor should have been the number one person answering those questions in regards to the amphitheater.
I agree.
There should be nothing in the city he does not know about.
Yeah.
And the fact that not even just him, but the fact that we have registered businesses that are not even registered, unregistered businesses that are working on behalf of this amphitheater, and you can't even find their legal license to do the duties that they're doing for us on the state's website for their corporation, is just appalling.
It is. And to ask, I believe there was something going around where they were requesting $13,000 for open records. Why do we have to pay why does a taxpayer have to pay $13,000 for an open records request?
Now that is law. The law is anything over 500. Now you can ask to preview something, and they can do that for free. However, the law is, I believe, anything over 500. You do have to pay, because at that point, it's taking them off from their work. So you're kind of paying the clerk's office to do it. You're paying for the prints or email, but you literally have to pay for all of that breakdown. But what the city is not doing is we're not being transparent, because I even asked for an open records request that was like $200, and they refused to give me the full record. I had stuff blacked out. Unless it's something super privy and private, certain things should not be blacked out on open records requests.
Absolutely.
You have people's names and it's council members that we know that are stricken out of open records requests that some of our community members have asked for.
Yes.
And that's just not okay.
It's definitely not okay.
If we're paying for it, one, and two, it's public information.
Right.
So that should be shared instantly.
Right.
And I think that's what the gentleman was kind of arguing. Y'all are hiding information from me. When I paid for an open records request, I get the open records request, and it's not the full equivalation of what I've asked for.
Okay. And I'm trying to understand, why are we paying taxes if we're not being transparent?
That's the question of the day.
Like, so being real, we came upon a time where, we got to get these white people, and I'm just being as blunt as possible. Absolutely. Because that's who I am, But we got to get these white people out of office. We got to get people that look like us. But when we get people who look like us, it's almost like they become the same as those that we said we had to get out.
They get comfortable in the seat.
That
seat it gets very comfortable after some time, and you realize how much power you got. That seat gets real comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe in term limits.
Yes.
But we can speak on that another day.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you now for a fact, the city is in need of money.
Okay.
We are in dire need of some money. Not dire, we're almost easy hammer broke, but we're at a point to where we have to watch every single penny we spend.
So with the soccer field, they were saying, hey, we got SPOS dollars set up from such and such budget. They didn't even have it in the budget, first and foremost.
It wasn't.
It was almost like we're going to pull from over here to make this make sense, to make that make sense. Come on, man.
And to be honest with you, they're doing that, and it's cutting the funds that they probably need to function as a city every single day.
To function. I totally agree. Now, The Stockbridge Amphitheater is popping. ViStar Credit Union just bought the license to it. A lot of politics around that. There's a lot of politics around just the simple. It's a lot of politics around what's going on with the ViStar Amphitheater, and you have, why aren't we using local entities to support local business if it's supposed to boost the economy of Henry County and all of that? It's like, when do we start utilizing local vendors and local media outlets and local, all of that? It's kind of like, it's almost like the Boulay Group. You know what I mean?
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Our economies are meant to be like the circle of life for a plant.
Okay.
It's supposed to be like, we use circles a lot because that's literally how you should function.
Correct.
If you're not, you want our economy to pour into, you want the tax dollars to pour into the amphitheater.
Right.
Then you're saying the amphitheater is supposed to pour back into the community.
Right.
But I think it's a cut right there, because what is the amphitheater pouring back into us with?
Okay.
Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the ViStar namesake contract.
Okay.
I'm not.
Talk to us. Why?
I
Tell.
will be completely frank.
Okay.
Let's ViStar. They just came to the community 3 years ago. I would not have done that.
Okay.
Because you're new to the community. Why would I name something after you? And I got, let's say, and I know she may not have the money,
Right.
but Miss Linda out there, she been on the corner of downtown Stockbridge for 10 years. I'm gonna name this after her salon. It's just certain stuff like that I would have looked at first.
Right.
I would have rather it been called the Publix Amphitheater.
Well, it's probably the money grab.
Right, but this is the thing. It's a $300,000 contract.
Okay.
$300,000 a year.
Okay.
With a 3% increase. So over 3 or 4 years, you're making roughly $1.3 to $1.7 million. That's nothing. That's not even an artist.
Wow.
To me, if I'm looking at the budget correctly,
Okay.
that's not even a full night show.
Okay.
But you've had them spread that out in 4 years. That's concerning to me.
That's concerning.
Because not only did we open an amphitheater,
Right.
we also opened a police department. And I love our police department.
Okay.
And I love it down. The chief and all of those officers, they understand community policing.
Okay.
I can give them that. However, when it comes down to the city's money,
Yes.
we did not accurately accommodate those two objects and those two projects properly.
Okay.
And so now we're in a place where we're trying to get namesake contracts where the contract does not include, well, they still pay, let's say ViStar pays for, they pay for their signs, their promotional stuff.
Okay.
Nope, city pay for that.
Okay.
Let's say they pay for artists. Nope, city pays the majority of that. They
Wow.
pay for the amenities. Nope, city pays for that. So the money's still coming from us. They just got the name.
Okay.
What's the purpose of the namesake contract? Just to have your name on it, and I'm only getting, what, $1 million?
And the thing about it, and I agree with you, and it seems to be again falling right back on taxpayers.
Yep.
Right?
And
With one-dimensional shows.
yeah, I'm gonna tell you this too.
Okay.
The financial advisor for the city just told them at a retreat that the city is flipped. That majority of, and everybody knows this in any civic 101 class.
Okay.
The number one source of your money for a city should come majority commercial.
Okay.
The rest, lower half, your taxpayers.
Okay. Okay.
We're flipped. Our taxpayers are taking the heavier load in the city.
Okay.
And we have less commercial. So now they've just been tasked to get more commercial into the community to balance out the overload that the taxpayers are paying.
So what happens when what happens when you got disgruntled people who are they come on social media, they get on platforms, they seem to be the villain. It's almost like the leadership paints them as the villain for speaking up.
Absolutely.
When these same people were encouraging people to speak up 4 years ago to vote for them, you know what I mean? To vote for them. Like, it was like, we need everybody out here. We need everybody here. But now when these people are coming back and saying, hey, okay, we got you here. Let's make sense of this.
Right.
It's like we're being treated almost as, the lesser of.
Yep.
The lesser of. Yeah, the lesser of.
That's the perks of the game.
Wow.
And to be honest with you, are we playing the right game?
Okay.
No. Because at the end of the day, every community's member's voice should be heard and should be pushed in any aspect, especially regarding big projects that, again, in a city that majority of the tax dollars are coming from taxpayers,
Yes,
their concern should be the number one thing you want to listen to.
Okay.
Outside of the financial advisor and all of them. But the fact that we've been through city managers,
Okay.
we've been through financial treasurers, the city hasn't had full leadership to really deep dive, and now we have some new members on the team in the city.
Okay.
They're actually looking at the city like, yo, like y'all look crazy.
Yeah.
Y'all are not. I had a conversation with one of the staffers. I'm not gonna mention names,
Okay.
but he sat there and I just introduced myself. I just said I was a citizen. I didn't say I was running because I'm not here to push that. I'm actually here to fight for the people.
Right.
He said, no, I don't know what the city got going on, but it's a lot. He said, I hope I can help it, but we're going through a lot financially.
Okay.
If you have to cut down to where your business services, the highest, the department that brings the most money to the community,
Okay.
to the city, if you have to not give them a machine to send out all of these fee letters and they have to stuff envelopes one by one
Wow.
to send out your tax dollars, your sales report so they can pay it on time, that's the issue to me. Because there's only
big
3
issue.
people in that office.
Yeah. And it's only so many people can work.
Yeah.
And you have to stay in the budget. In the same way we have to run budgets in our home, we have to run those same budgets in our cities, our counties, our state, and abide by those. Now, with the young generation moving here, we know we got the thing with the ViStar Amphitheater, excuse me. The ViStar Amphitheater, we talked about the police department, which I kind of thought was kind of crazy, but it seems to be balancing out, doing the kind of things. Data centers. With the young professionals moving here, you know, what's the hiccup with the data centers now? Tell us, is that a pro or a con for our community? Because one minute our leaders said they wanted it, the other minute it was like,
The full benefit of it is not beneficial for our community.
okay,
Now, if we were a Butts County, where we just have a few acres of land just open,
okay,
yes. If this was Henry County 2012,
okay,
yes, okay, data center.
okay,
Brings more jobs, brings more opportunity.
right,
But our population density has grown so much.
correct.
We built so much. We're losing land and the accommodations to put out data centers, and it actually helps our community. It's no benefit.
Yeah,
So, yes, it's some pros because it brings jobs, but think about all those trucks that are going to be on these pothole roads that we still can't get fixed.
I mean, man, 155 is. I really feel like the county should actually give every taxpaying citizen road hazard protection on their tires.
Yeah.
You know, I personally feel that way because how are we unaccommodated for what we have coming? But it's like these trucks just trample our roads, and we're paying. I probably paid, you know, more for tires in the past 2 years than I ever have in the past 6. You know, so you know, with the data centers now. But without the data centers, it drives the young people to live here but not work here. And I thought we were trying to build a community where we live, work, and play. So what type of jobs, if we're going to attract the young people to live down here, what type of jobs can we build? Like, where do we go from here? Because, you know, Jodico Road, it seems to be the new Atlanta South seems to be the thing, you know? I mean, like...
That's true. And then Stockbridge, the developers over there, they're doing the big thing over there.
Okay.
But
what type of jobs does it produce for those young professionals?
I would even go further to say, we say communities that live, work, and play.
Okay.
Now, my definition may be a little bit different from other people's definition.
Okay.
When people hear work, they hear job. They hear hourly.
Okay.
When I say live, work, and play, I mean careers.
Correct.
What type of community can I have where you live, you have a career that you want to pursue,
Okay.
and you also can play?
Okay.
Well, how can I get Microsoft to come out here? To come and not just to have a warehouse or a data center,
Right.
but to have them have an open conversation or career opportunity development center here.
Okay.
How can we get them to come do that in this community? Because that will be more accommodable.
Right.
Or to accommodate our community way more than data center, where people can have a career there, work in tech,
Okay.
and go back home.
Right.
We have to find stuff like that because we got the law firms, we got we have nothing else really. Law firms, but here in County.
Well, small business.
Small business entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So if we have our entrepreneurs, our small businesses, we're showing them ways to build their own money and their own success.
Okay.
But we're not putting the careers behind them just in case they need to fall through.
Absolutely, and I believe it is hard to actually find people to work in Henry County. I believe believe it puts a lot of small businesses, behind the eight ball because they want to hire people, but it's hard to stay competitive. And I don't just put it on the city, because I believe if you own a small business, you got to have a plan. You got to have a plan, and you got to know the demographic. You got to know where you're at. But how can small businesses benefit, in this economy, in this area, where you have those young professionals who we don't know about, that just moved here, and we have entrepreneurs that have businesses that are trying to grow and find that right prospect.
And you got to put on my consultant hat. That goes back to your marketing, right?
Yes.
If I'm targeting, I'm not gonna call them old, my seasoned saints to come out, right? I'm gonna have the pastor come out for a day.
Yeah.
Pastor, hey, come post this and post it on your Facebook for me that you at my coffee shop.
Right.
It's strategic stuff. If I'm trying to get people my age, young professionals, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna scroll on TikTok for about 2 hours, find some influencers in the area, and tell them to post it on TikTok. Day in the life, call me shopping at such and so's coffee shop.
Right.
We got to make sure we accommodate those specific areas, because you're not going to get every generation.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But if you actually break it down and put piece by piece what you're trying to do, how you're trying to do it, you're targeting this amount of people, like even with my campaign, I can't specifically post one thing and hope it get everybody.
Absolutely.
It's not going to.
It's not going to happen.
And everybody may not like it.
Yeah.
So you have to, especially if you're in a small business, you got to open your palette to accommodate everybody.
Now, small business seems to be a hub for here in Henry County for those who have moved to Henry County. I know a lot of successful small businesses. People ask me all the time, I don't know how you started a publication based on African Americans in Henry County 10 years ago. And I say, man, it had to be God. You know what I mean? So, what are the opportunities for small business owners in Henry County, in Stockbridge, with the economy developing like it is?
I mean, there's a multitude of opportunities, because honestly, some of the buildings that we're building actually come with some commercial at the bottom. So we're trying to build some more mixed-use developments, so that our residents that are incoming can go to those small businesses when they're leaving their house, or when they're just driving back home and they just stop because of traffic. But it's some benefits when it comes down to how much you pay your taxes, a business fee, your setup. I think it's a little bit more easier the more you come out of Atlanta, because the more you go out there, you got to have higher insurance, higher liability. You got to have to up your grade standards. We'll take you at your worst to help you get to your best. I think that's the best benefit in Henry County for small businesses.
Now, let's talk about community organizations in Stockbridge. And you mentioned one of our great community organizations, Feeding God's People. Shout out to Feeding God's People, Miss Linda.
That's right.
Miss Linda over there on the corner, on the corner downtown. Let's talk about some of the nonprofits, because one thing that I see, in just being transparent, and she's one who has sustained her nonprofit. What are some of the things that we can do to improve resources for local nonprofits? Because I see a lot of the times where a lot of elected officials like to create their own nonprofits and be the hero. Like, it's almost like we're the elected official, the hero, we're all balled up in one. You know what I'm saying? When it was a time when it was like those elected officials were partnering with nonprofits organizations, supporting nonprofit organizations, and using their influence to push people to support those. Now it's kind of like the nonprofit game is being overshadowed by like church and state.
Absolutely. When our leaders jump into the nonprofit world, especially when they're elected,
right,
it does not look good on them, but it also doesn't help their economy and those nonprofits.
Okay.
For me,
right.
I know when I get in office, and it's on my website, I want to start, when I establish a mayor's office, because we don't have that. I established a nonprofit sector of the mayor's office, where community leaders, nonprofit owners in the community come together, and we talk about the resources that they want. Because I can sit here and name resources, right?
Right.
The resources that I may name may not be germane to Stockbridge or Henry County. It may be germane to Fulton County, or it may just be a general sense of resources that we can bring that they may already have.
Correct.
And so when we have conversations, especially with our nonprofits, we have to ask them, what kind of resource do you need? How can we assist you? Because most of the time we're allocating assistance that they really don't need.
And I totally agree. And from it's like, it's almost like people say, well, Trump was in office and we got all this money. Biden was in office and all the leaders acting like them passing out food was such heroic. You know what I mean? So, and that's just being real. It's like, it's almost like, and I'm not saying the leadership in Henry County is doing this. I'm saying leadership across the board. I don't want to make nobody feel like they're under the scope, but it was almost like now that the more information that an elected official get, the more they use that resource for themselves.
Absolutely. They take it for their advantage.
And because they're getting it first.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And they get first dibs on those contracts.
Yeah.
They get first dibs on those funds allocated for specific things, especially that post-COVID relief fund. And that's a story for a different time. But
right. Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that comes out that should be out for the community is usually up for grabs by those who are already who are in the game and who see it.
Yeah.
Rather than the community who could benefit from it the most.
Because they're the first to know about it.
Yeah.
But we elected these people that said, man, we look like us. So we said, we're electing you because you look like us and we're expecting you to do something for us. But on the other foot, it's like, okay, hold up, we got you. Another 4 years go by. Hold up, we got you. You know?
I can tell you for a fact, I've seen it firsthand.
Okay.
My family helps Miss Marlene Lemons at Miracle Hope House in McDonald.
Shout out to Miracle Hope House.
We help them every year, once a month, but our majority time is during the holiday season because that's just when she calls us.
Okay.
And they're celebrating 20 years as a nonprofit here in Henry County.
Wow.
That's big, right?
Yeah.
But she does not get that recognition from most of the county or city officials.
Wow.
She does not get that recognition, but at the end of the day, she's servicing almost 2,000 people in that small building that she's in.
That's right.
Every single day. There's not one person, and I can tell you, I walk with her in those communities. She has she's in Blacksville.
Yes. Okay.
She walks that whole cul-de-sac, not even the cul-de-sac, she walks all of those streets in Blacksville every day.
Wow.
Making sure those people who don't want to leave the house or going through something get food every single day. It may be some cold food. Most of the time, her and her team are in their house cooking.
Yeah.
To try to make sure those people eat every day. So if we find resources to allocate towards people like that who are actually doing stuff in the community daily,
yes,
small heroes who don't need the Superman cape, it really will look better for our community, and it'll boost the way we push our economy.
Man, I'm 100% with you, and just to give my testimony on Ms. Lemon over there, I personally just drop bags of clothes over there at the door. I don't call her because I know she's doing the work. I don't say I drop. Matter of fact, I got a bag of shoes in my truck right now. You know what I mean? That I say, hey, I'm getting over to the M&M Hope House. And we have to support these communities because we have to support these communities because these communities are right. These organizations are right in the heart of our communities, serving the people that we want to be served. Yeah. So I'm glad you're passionate and you're open minded about partnerships. What is the value of partnerships in your campaign?
1,000%.
Okay.
That's the drive. Now my campaign's the momentum, but what drives momentum? Partnerships, community, businesses.
Okay.
I've had the privilege thus far to probably go to almost every single small business in the city.
Wow.
I haven't even asked for support.
Okay.
I go in the first time, I just introduce myself, I give them a brochure, I eat, I talk, I get my feet done.
That's right.
I just have that conversation, but when it comes down to it, I'm coming back.
Okay.
And when they see that you're consistent, when they see that you're just more of a title, it's more than just a title for you. That's when you get the trust, because the trust has been gone with elected officials in our businesses, with our local leaders.
Wow.
So unless you're, like for example, like the NAACP partnering with Food Depot or something, they won't trust you. Because they don't know, they understand that the people who are here for community,
Right.
they're the people who are here for namesake, and that
Yes.
is bad that we've gotten to that position in the county.
Wow.
But we still have work to do.
Yes, yes. I believe the only competition is the competition in the mirror.
Yep.
And once the thing, we have to get, you know, as a people, we got to get out of that competition mindset and get in that community mindset, working together, because that's one thing that inspired me to continue my walk in Henry County. The partnerships, the collaborative, the community collaborative, and just those type of things, you know. But we got to go to a commercial break. And we're gonna talk about. We got Jaden Williams here. And we're gonna talk about his campaign moving forward, for mayor of Stockbridge, Georgia. What you got coming up? Things you're gonna do. You guys stay tuned. Game Changers Magazine, Game Changers Media Network, Voices of the Village podcast, where change starts with conversation.
Justice and peace and equality. Now the world they will see. That's why